Welcome to the Mark Pattison Show. Today we are here with a Dallas-Fort Worth agent and super excited to have Rachel on the show. Rachel Moussa from Dallas, Texas. Welcome to the Mark Pattison Show. I went from being a solo agent to selling over $1 billion in real estate in just 6 years. I flip houses, I run a portfolio of investment properties, and I help people like you create lifestyles they couldn't even imagine living. I'm going to show you how to make riches through real estate. Welcome to the Mark Pattison Show. From the Dallas or the Fort Worth side?
More Fort Worth.
Perfect. So a little bit more country, right?
Yeah, a little bit more country. Exactly.
I was actually at the San Antonio rodeo a month ago.
Oh, fun.
So yeah, I had my cowboy hat, my Stetson, and then I bought my Stetson in Dallas. So good times always going to those rodeos.
Yeah.
If you haven't been to a San Antonio rodeo or the Dallas rodeo, definitely go. But more so the Fort Worth side, like she said.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how long have you been in real estate?
4 years.
4 years. Perfect. What'd you do before the real estate adventure?
I was an attorney.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what kind of law?
I practiced mesothelioma law for 7 years, so helping the families that had lost somebody or were in the process of losing somebody to asbestos cancer. And then I had my first baby and figured I couldn't be on an airplane every single week for the rest of my life. And I switched and I did employment law for a couple of years.
Okay.
And that's when I figured out I hated being a lawyer and needed to make a change and got into real estate.
Yes, and we were talking about this earlier. It is kind of when you are an attorney and then when you become a real estate agent, it's funny how much you can apply that because we deal with so many contracts and to the benefit of our clients. And if you really understand the contracts, you can win over clients, you can win over the deal. So how do you use your past history of being an attorney to real estate?
Absolutely. Sometimes it really comes into play two different ways. The first one, like you're saying, is fully understanding the contract. I know it forwards and backwards. I know all of the outs. I know what things mean and what they don't mean, because people commonly think it means one thing and it doesn't. So I'm having to teach agents on the other side, no, if you'll see paragraph 7A2, this is what this actually says. And then the other side is just negotiation skills. I can really read a situation when somebody's bluffing. I know how to push from my days in negotiating big $1 million lawsuits.
For sure. And it also, I think when you've done something like that, or you have it's almost your alter ego. So when you have something in your past or you did something and you're like, damn, if I could do that, then I can do anything.
Yeah.
So push yourself, guys. If you haven't done something where you've really gone past your limits of comfortability and, negotiating multi-million-dollar deals, you do that once and then all of a sudden you realize, man, I can do this every single time. Mm-hmm. And it releases any of that anxiety or pressure because you're just following the contract. And that also, I love that you said how much you know the contract, because I say you're getting paid, to represent your client. And if you don't know which paragraph and what that means and how to explain that in layman's terms in 2 seconds or less, then something's wrong.
Right, absolutely. One of our onboardings is understanding each paragraph in simple terms, being able to write it in 5 words or less, each paragraph of the Texas contract.
Second deal I did, the client wanted to walk through, and she was an attorney, wanted to walk through line by line of the contract. And I was like, oh crap, I'm glad I studied this. But plus I was brand new. I didn't really know too much. I didn't have much experience on each one. But after that moment, I said, I'm never going to not know absolutely everything about the contract. And then California goes ahead and changes it again. They're constantly changing it, which means it's a good thing. It's an update. The new contract in California I actually really love. But I love the fact of education. That is how I start my team. And I love that you said your onboarding process. So do you have a team? Are you a solo agent? What's your scenario?
I do. So I have 3 agents on my team and we have 4 support staff. So we're a team of 8.
Okay, perfect. Are you looking to grow? Do you like that size? What's the idea?
I'm looking to strategically grow. So I refuse to hire for the sake of hiring. But when I meet somebody, I come across somebody on a deal or an introduction of a friend, and there's somebody that I just think is talented, then I will do whatever it takes to get them on the team. And I'd like to grow that way.
Yes, of course. I think, and what is your main thing with the criteria of an agent that you would like to join with?
Great question. The first thing is likability. I don't care how smart you are, you will not be a successful real estate agent if people don't like you when they meet you. And I've come across a lot of those in my life where you are not going to make it if people don't want to hang out with you. So first thing I would say is likability. Second thing is hustle. For sure.
And I think likability goes a long way for trust. And a lot of the time we do know what we're doing, but if we don't have the trust of the client, you're done. Absolutely. And trust is the biggest thing. And the only way you're going to earn trust, because people can read people very, very well. Be ethical, be honest, do the right thing every single time, and it will pay off, even if you lose the deal because of it. Mm-hmm. For sure, do the right thing. That's one thing on mine. What are some things that you would fire an agent for?
Any lie whatsoever to a client. If I were to hear, and this hasn't happened yet, but if I were to hear, well, this happened and then I told them this to make it, gloss over it and make it better, that would be a 1 strike you're out rule. You have to be transparent. These are people's financial futures on the line. This is likely their biggest investment. We can't be doing anything to make, sacrificing a potential their goodwill to make ourselves look better.
For sure.
Like
for what? How much money?
Yeah.
And if you think about it, if you're doing something where you're only concerned about that next paycheck, something's wrong with you personally with your finances, which obviously if you're a new agent, it takes a bit to get some reserves. But if you're experienced, you should have reserves in place. You shouldn't be driving that fancy car if you don't have 6 months of your mortgage and your payment and your rents and all the things paid for in advance. And if you have that set up, it eliminates the anxiety. It eliminates the stress of like, oh crap, what am I going to do with this deal? And it eliminates the issue of doing something wrong for a client.
100%. One of the things I pride myself on is talking people out of houses.
Me too. That's the best way to earn trust. You point out the things that you see. Hey, look, you're on a busy road. It's going to have tons of offers today, but if the market goes down a little bit, or if it's not as many, buyers out there, your house will be the last one to sell.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
I same way. And if you can treat someone like that, yes, you may have to show them a few more, or hey, you may have to list their house for a little bit longer, whatever the scenario is, but you're going to gain that client for life and referrals, and it turns into so much more business. I love looking at agents on my team that have been on the team the exact same time. You look at one agent's, it's all the same lead source, or like leads coming in still. Maybe they're on the team for 3 years, 4 years. And then you look at someone else, it's all past client referral.
Yeah.
That is a telling story.
Huge difference.
Yes. Speaking on that, some things that we talked about is just getting your appraisals in. So for agents that are, writing offers on houses and they're like, shit, it's 500,000, but I think it's going to appraise at like 450, or just different scenarios. How do you pace your client on that? And do you future pace what the expectations are if you're listing their home? How do you go about that in the best way?
Great question. So I think, especially in the Dallas-Fort Worth market right now, fully understanding what we expect appraisals to do is a huge part of our job. So I expect all of our agents to run full comparative market analysis on every home that we are considering putting an offer on. And that is using the 3 to 5 best comps, only within 20% of the square footage, the best neighborhood you can find, the most recent comps, and then making good adjustments. And we try to, every time we get an appraisal, and we save it in our system so that we can look and see, okay, what are appraisers doing now? How much is a pool really worth in our market now? It's gone up about $10,000 in the last year because it's been so much more expensive to put in pools. So I want to know that. I want to know we need to be adjusting $30,000 instead of $20,000 at this price range. So being really aware of what appraisers are doing and being able to advise our clients. Of course, you always have to do your asterisk. We are not licensed appraisers, yada, yada. But I expect, based on my experience, that the range of likely appraisal values is X to Z. My best guess would be this number. Now it's listed at this number. That's a $50,000 difference. We're going to have to put in a full appraisal waiver. No one wins in our market without a full appraisal waiver that I will pay that sales price regardless of what the appraiser thinks. So we just need to be preparing our clients for how much extra are you going to be bringing on top of that. But then the second part of appraisals is making sure you get ahead of it. We send appraisal packages regardless of whether representing the buyer or the seller. We always want the appraisal to come in high because somebody else will pay that sales price if our client doesn't want to, right? It's going to sell for that price. The top 2 or 3 offers in our market are almost always really close because all of our houses are, not all, most of our houses are coming in 20 offers at least right now. And so we want to get ahead of it and provide appraisal packets. We usually just email them. But the main thing, appraisers can usually find the right comps. The main thing is showing them market adjustments. Mr. Appraiser, thank you so much. I know you're so experienced. Just wanted to provide you the data for this specific neighborhood. This market's been going up 1.5% per month for 18 months. Here's the data from 18 months ago and now, and you can see the difference in the price per square foot. Or it's going up 1.7% in some markets, or 1.3%. But we give them the exact numbers they need to justify doing a $75,000 market adjustment since November.
Yes.
2 years ago, that would have been unheard of.
Yes, and it's knowing the numbers. And like you said, I know you know what you're doing, Mr. Appraiser or Mrs. Appraiser. You got to kiss their butt. Yeah. Don't tell people what to do. But you do want to provide that value for your client, being that if you're representing the listing. The other thing, too, is we talk about this all the time. If you're walking into a home, if you're a client, you should not be deciding the purchase price. Your agent should be, because your agent should know absolutely everything that's going on in their marketplace for you to win that offer. If you're the one deciding the purchase price, if you're not coming in hot, you're going to be looking for a long time and you're just going to keep getting beat out and you're not going to get a home. If your agent is not offering value and telling you what you should come in at, you have the wrong agent. You need a strong agent that says, hey, look, I know it's listed at 500. Trust me, right now it's going to go in at 575. Or, hey, it's listed at $1 million. We're probably going to have to go to 1.2. List price is not the actual price. It's just an invitation. And that's to sellers as well. So when you're talking to sellers and you're saying, hey, this is where we think we should price your home, what's your strategy on that? I know mine is to always try to tell them, hey, look, the value is to underprice it. If I personally list my house, I'm going to basically, which I would never do because I would never do it for sale by owner. Because of course, as the seller, I think my house is worth more than it probably is. I'm gonna get an agent and tell them like, hey, you don't kiss my butt. Tell me what you think this is and prove to me with the comps. Let me see what it's worth.
Sure.
And then let's list it a little bit below that because I want to have a buyer frenzy. What happens when you overprice a listing?
It
Sits. And then what do buyers think?
Something's wrong with it.
Yes. So nothing's wrong with it, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer. It's just that the seller was way too cocky and they thought their house was worth a little bit more because everyone, including myself, thinks our homes are amazing. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, that kitchen is, outdated or this. And the best way to say it, I love when you're like, how do you explain to someone, you walk into their listing or you walk into your seller's home and it's potential listing and you want them to change some things. How do you bring that up to them? Like, hey, this is what we want to do to your house. This is how we're going to make it show ready.
Sure. One of the things I try to separate is what I like about the house and what current buyers are asking for. So when you say it objectively like that, in Texas, people are still going nuts for white kitchens right now, right?
Same.
So you walk in with the brown cabinets and the sellers love them. They love their rich brown cabinets. It looks elegant. And you say, absolutely, me too.
Take out your real oak and put in some crappy shaker because that's what buyers like.
That's what buyers want. Well, in our market, depending on the price point, you really can just slap $3,000 worth of paint on them and it makes a $10,000 difference in your sales price. But I always try to separate. I agree with you. I love the elegant look of your kitchen, but what buyers want right now is blank. And just give them the hard data. These kitchens are going to go for $10,000 more. Yeah.
I freaking love that. And I say this to clients too. I say, hey, one of our core values is honesty. I have to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. So this is not pertaining to your home. This is pertaining to every home. So
that's good.
I love saying that as well. And then making sure it's like, hey, I love the accent walls, but what we want to do is make this place look as big and bright as possible. And what we need to do for that is Sherwin-Williams,
agreeable gray.
Yes, agreeable gray. We've got a couple other ones too that we use all the time. And Swiss coffee. But Swiss coffee is one I think from Dunn Edwards. It's a little bit more expensive. So agreeable gray is more affordable. But yes, those things like doing the $3,000 paint job does raise $10,000. So if you're a seller or you're an agent and you're not telling your clients to paint their house, something's wrong. You need to be telling your clients what they need to do. It's your job to get them the most money. And having someone overlist their home or not do the updates because they don't want to do stuff, make sure they understand, hey, you're leaving money on the table. Are you prepared for that?
Right. A common refrain from sellers is, well, it's such a crazy seller's market. It's going to sell no matter what. Absolutely. If we price it right, it will sell no matter what. But do you really not want to use this opportunity to turn $3,000 into $10,000? You're not going to get that opportunity very frequently.
No. And what kind of investment? How much time to earn triple your money in a weekend? Like that is, you don't get those returns anywhere.
Nope.
And it's only 10 grand. That's maybe someone people will say, but it's like, that's 10 grand. What could you do with that 10 grand? Opportunity cost, more money, the better for our sellers. Plus it's like, look what you did. And the cool thing is, well, it's fun knowing like your value when you are representing a seller. How do we differentiate ourselves to know that because who you work with does matter? So if you're working with a buyer and, the buyer's like, oh, I want to work with my cousin because they just got their licensed, like how, how important is it that you're working with an experienced agent?
Well, one of my favorite responses to that line is, and I think it's so great that you value that relationship. Is that relationship more important to you than an experienced agent that's going to get you in the house you want? Which one's more important? Because it frequently is a cut and dry choice. You can either help your cousin or you can get into the house you want in our market. And so I think numbers speak. Everybody thinks they're their own best agent. So you have to have the data to back it up. You have to show when we represent buyers, we on average write 3 offers to get in, where the average agent writes 17 in our market before they win a house.
And knowing those stats. You hear how many stats she's rolling off because she knows her information. If you can present that to a buyer, it's going to win the buyer's emotions. It's going to win their trust. It proves you know your shit. Yes.
Well, thanks.
Yes. I love that. Sometimes too, if you're even like, what you have for list price to sales price. If you're like, hey, last time, check today, see where you're at on your listings. Is it 107% or is it 93%? Do you overprice homes or do you underprice homes? This is what I look at too. If I'm going to go look and write an offer on someone, do you guys have HomeSnap in your market?
I don't know.
You should look into it. So it's just a simple app. What you do is it's free. It's free with the basic one, but you can look at a listing agent's list price to sales price ratio. So if you're writing an offer on 123 Main Street and you can go and look and see, hey, how does this listing agent list their homes?
Yeah.
Because it's not a t-shirt. It's not $24.99 here and $24.99 there.
Mm-hmm.
It's, hey, this agent could have listed it for $500 and it's worth $450. This agent could have listed it for $500 and it's worth $600.
Yeah. No, I do that analysis just by running their license number through the MLS. And you just start to know habits too. Oh, that agent always drastically underprices. Don't even look at that list price. It's going to be way higher. Or this one might sit for a bit. That guy tends to let his sellers decide their numbers.
Yep. And we have 2 investors in our market, and they're doing a great job. They freaking crush it with doing remodels. One team lists their homes always hundreds of thousands under. Like 100, 200, 300,000 under. And it's just freaking every time. And then the other one doesn't mind to let it sit. And they'll list it above. And going to that experience and then showing your clients, hey, look, this is what it is. Provide data to them.
Yes.
Show them. So it's not you telling the story. Because if you don't have the trust built with them, it's just you convincing them to write more on a house. And they're like, of course you want me to write more. You're going to make more commission.
More money.
It's like, no, honey, I'm going to make you the freaking house owner. I don't care about the commission because I got my 6 months reserves. I kick butt and I sell X number of homes. I don't need your sale. I want your sale.
Yeah.
Like that's the difference.
Yeah.
That's what I say to people. I said, hey, look, I would love to have your sale, but it's not going to make or break my day. That's why it's important to work with an agent that's experienced, because I'm never going to push you to do something just because.
Right.
I'm going to push you to do something because it is the right reason.
Completely agree.
Yeah. So other tips, I know that you talked about open houses. You have like a huge success rate with open houses. I guarantee it's because of the knowledge base. When someone comes into an open house, I'm not someone who makes people sign in. Everyone has their different ways of doing things, but what are your method? Like, what do you have done? Are you more in like make everyone sign in, follow up with them, provide value? What do you do for your situation?
I do make everybody sign in. I do the sign-ins myself, so I can read my own handwriting. I'm very big at the beginning about asking who their agent is, so that I know who is available and who is already spoken for. I am not in the business of poaching clients. And then I completely agree. It is, again, it goes back to likability. I really just try to talk to people. And then knowing your stats, knowing your market. I mean, even the first open house I did, because I had been a home buyer. So the first open house I did when I had been a realtor for a month, I was able to talk about, Stonehill Farms, it's, it probably goes for about $130 a foot at this point. But if you go a little bit south, and you cross this, I was just able to talk about the neighborhoods. And so when I went back and I'm at my first open house, I met 3 clients that ended up buying and selling with me. And now they're my dear friends. And whenever I went back and told them one time, I was like, did you guys know you were my first clients? We had no idea. You totally tricked us.
I have the exact same story. A girl called me a year after an open house. And she was like, hey, so this is Shannon. And I was like, oh, yeah, I remember you. You were at the open house on Hawk Street. And she's like, how do you know that? And I so later on, I was like, oh, I just have a really good memory. And then once I got her under contract and closed, and I go, hey, do you want to know something funny? That open house was the first open house I ever did. And you were like one of the first clients I ever talked to. And she was like,
and I was so excited that you called.
Yeah. She's like, you knew so much information. And I was like, well, yeah, I probably didn't, but I do now. This is a year later. I was like, but at that point in time, I had never sold a house. It was like my first open house I did.
And so even if you're a new agent, you got to study. You have to be able to talk knowledgeably about the market.
Yep.
Whatever it takes, so that you are not like, do you want to buy a house? No one wants to buy a house from that agent.
For sure. And whether the agents are new or experienced, I think you can always be learning. So let's give some tips. What are some tips that you say that are must-haves? Because I love the education idea. Do you have anything specific? Anything that you say, hey, you must read this book, or you must do this with this contractor? What are your tips to your new agents or the experienced ones that need something?
I would say, and I know we already talked about this, but I would say the most important thing to me is agents understanding pricing of homes. It applies both on the sales side and on the buy side. In order to win offers, you have to understand how a house is priced. In order to sell a house, you have to understand how a house is priced. So really, I want all of my agents to be able to look at an appraisal, know which page to jump to, know how to fight them. I've actually gotten 4 appraisals in the last year and a half raised, which is no small feat, right? Appraisals like to admit that they're wrong. But that's what I really want is my agents to be able to explain to their clients really what a house is going to come in at. And then if we do get a bad appraisal, get it fixed. That's
100%.
the most important thing to me.
And this is the biggest way. I mean, to new agents, I explain it. I'm like, if you have a person who's looking to date someone, they have a specific type, explain to them, like, if the person they like is 5'5" and blonde and blah, 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 you're not going to show them a 6 foot brunette. It's similar like taste of a house, and understanding that and having the education. Cause I'm like, look, this home is not like this home at all. Like, why would a buyer even look at this house? This one's a 4-bedroom and this one's a freaking 2-bedroom. That is not a comparable.
Not a comparable.
Like apples to apples. Think of it. And if you don't understand how to run comparable sales, you don't know how to represent your buyers or your sellers. So if you're in real estate, understand your shit, understand your contracts, because you are able to get out of certain things like you said prior. I think that's huge. Understanding on which page, hey, this is what the sellers pay for. This is what the buyers pay for. Hey, this part right here, yes, it is negotiable, but in the market today, buyers are paying for it. Or hey, right now, this is what's normal. This is what's going to win our offer over. And it could be something as simple as like a transfer tax here, maybe $250. You put that the buyer's paying that. No one's putting that on their contracts. All the sellers typically pay for that. But why not just throw it on the buy side? It's a couple $100. You explain that to your buyer. You're like, hey, you willing to do this just to maybe help stand out a little bit? Those things matter. Don't CC people on offers. Make sure that when it's in DocuSign or however, Dotloop or DigiSign, don't just have it send to the listing agent.
Please,
Make sure it is so hard to organize and keep going and follow the MLS instructions.
Yes. Preach.
Yes.
Yeah. Whenever we submit offers, we have a really pretty template that says the Blushwood Realty Group's client, the Smith family, absolutely loves your listing at and highlights all of the things in a really easy to read font. We want the agent to want to open our email.
Yeah. No funky colors, nothing weird. Signatures clean. It shows your professionalism. Plus, like having a professional email. People that are on the listing side, they want to work with a professional and they want to know that that sale's secure. So come with your best foot forward with the best offer and just freaking blow their socks off with professionalism.
Yes.
Follow up. And say something goes wrong with that deal. Don't be scared. Like, hey, look, I tried to make this work. Go and like bring that agent a gift. You know, bring them a bottle of champagne and say, hey, I'm sorry I screwed up your sale. I know you have a backup offer and you're already back in escrow or you're pending already. Here you go. Thank you so much. Because when you go write an offer on that listing agent's property again,
yep.
Good luck.
Yep.
Yeah. I have an agent.
Remember.
Yeah. I have an agent who freaking does stuff. She sent a thing of lifesavers to a listing agent because the gal did something about the transaction and she saved the transaction.
Oh, that's cute.
So she sent a little lifesavers with balloons to her office.
I love
Like
that.
little touches. It cost her what? $10? Mm-hmm. And then sure enough, this agent has only been in the business a year. She wrote an offer on that gal's business partner or someone in her office. And the girl was like, oh my gosh, this lady's so professional. She goes, oh my gosh, she sent me lifesavers. So for $10, she got her offer accepted.
That's amazing.
Like,
I love that tip.
Years later, or a year later.
That's great.
So just always treat people right. Another thing I do is every time we get something under contract and we close with the listing agent or a buyer's agent, if that agent on the other side is amazing and professional, write them a Google review from an agent perspective and say, hey, look, I'm another agent in the marketplace. They are my competitor, or, you're basically just saying like, but if you have the chance to work with John or Sally or whomever, you're lucky. Like they know what they're doing for their client.
Oh my gosh.
Mark Pattison, real estate agent, did deal 123 Main Street with them.
I'm doing that on the plane on the way home today.
There you go.
I'm going to go through my favorite agents on the other side and write them reviews. That's genius.
And then invite them to a yearly party. So you have a favorite agent party as well. And it's not for recruiting. It's just for respect to the agents. And it's also just to build rapport and have fun.
Yeah.
So we do a favorite agent party every year as well, which is something that I actually have to do because I haven't done it yet this year. So we go through and we have all of our agents vote on their favorite agents. We go through, I give them a call and say, hey, you did 123 Main Street with Samantha. Just want to say I'm the team leader. She actually voted you as her favorite agent of the year and she did 36 transactions. So I just want to say, hey, bravo. Hey, we're going to be doing a dinner here. We'd love to have you.
Wow.
It's not a recruiting event. It's just to build rapport with the community. And you say like, hey, it's not a recruiting. I don't want you on my team. I just want to have great relationships.
Yeah.
So
that's
my
smart.
tidbit.
And I always look for a reason to throw a party anyway. So.
Same. Yes. Charities, partner with stuff, all that good stuff. So any last things that you'd love to share? Any other tips that you have for a new agent or, like I said, an experienced agent?
I guess just going back to hustle. It is really easy, in my opinion, to get a real estate license. And there's a reason why a lot of agents fall out in the first couple of years. And that's, you just have to hustle. I work significantly more hours now than I did as a lawyer. And I am up at night thinking about my job way more now than I did as a lawyer. It's a grueling, fun, amazing industry. And you're not going to cut it unless you hustle. You need to be waking up early, thinking about how you're going to take care of your clients, where your next client's going to come from. But if you do that, it is the best job in the whole world.
Yes, I agree. I think if you love your job, you can just keep going. And I mean, right now, guys, it's 5 a.m. We're like, hey, you want to film a podcast tomorrow? So we do work our butts off and we get things done because I'm like, hey, my schedule is actually pretty full for the rest of the day, but 5 a.m. I'm free. So I love those tips. Definitely super lovely having you. So this is Rachel Moussa. She's from Fort Worth, Texas, near Dallas. So if you look at the Dallas-Fort Worth area metro, this is your gal.
Thank you. Yeah, Blushwood Realty Group. We'd love to help you if you're out there.
Perfect. Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you for tuning into the Mark Pattison Show today. If you enjoyed today's episode, please download so you can refer back. If you like this content and want to continue receiving real estate education for free, head over to your computer, scroll all the way down to the section after the episodes on the podcast, and select the 5 stars. If you're willing to commit to transforming your business, please visit my website, markpattisonrealestate.com. We've created a community of real estate professionals where we give back and share tips on how to succeed. Visit markpattisonrealestate.com. And remember, if you're not fucking up, then you're not trying.